All right, appreciate y'all being here this morning. So we finished up hiring our staff. So I just kind of wanted to kind of run through and give some highlights of each guy. Obviously, Travis Williams, you got a chance to meet. Very excited about Travis, his leadership. Not just defensively, but everything, and he's going to do a super job. Real excited about David Gibbs. So David Gibbs is a veteran guy. He's been very successful in this league, being a defensive coordinator. He has NFL experience. He was recently with Eli Drinkowich, which is a former GA of mine that has really said great things about him. So we're excited to have David. Addison Williams will coach corners for us. So Addison, I hired him, I believe, 2 to 3 years ago. He was really my analyst for the head coaching position at Auburn. Right-hand man, just did a super job. He's very good with defensive backs. We hired him from Coastal Carolina. He is going to do a great job with that. Kenny Martin. So Kenny Martin's a guy that I tried to hire as a defensive analyst 4 years ago at Auburn, and we came through, interviewed him, just made a great impact on me. Tried to hire him. He got the full-time job at Western Kentucky. So he's a guy that's kind of been on my mind. He's from here, which I think is great, has connections already. So he'll hit the ground recruiting with that. Kenny Ingram, we go way back. He was my defensive line coach at Arkansas State when we won a conference championship. He came to Auburn, in 2013 with me. It was an off-the-field role. He was in charge of character development and just does a wonderful job with that. He'll continue that for us. He went to be the defensive line coach at Cincinnati, and then I hired him back. So he's been with me really 2 different times at Auburn, and then my defensive line coach at Arkansas State. And we are really excited to have him. Now, Kenny will coach the defensive ends / outside linebackers, and Kenny Martin will coach our defensive tackles, and they'll work together with that. On the offensive side, G.J. Kinney, co-offensive coordinator and quarterback. So we go way back. I was the coordinator at Tulsa in 2008. He was at Texas. He transferred. He had to sit out a year, but he was kind of in every meeting. He knows our offense, and obviously with Todd Graham at Hawaii runs a similar offense. So it's a really good fit. And G.J. is one of the rising stars, I believe, in all of college football. Tim Harris Jr., he's a guy that I tried to hire in 2014 as an analyst at Auburn. So we interviewed him, a former high school coach, which I think that's important. So I've kind of had my eye on him for a long time. And so when I got the job, he was a guy that I had circled, and we talked. And, the unique thing is we got Tim and GJ that were actually offensive coordinators at the Division I level, and they were play callers. And they chose to come here, all right, and help us build this thing. And obviously I'm going to call the plays, but those 2 are going to help assist me, and I'm very excited about that. Brian Blackman. So Brian Blackman, he was the former head coach at Opelika High School, just right beside Auburn. He's a legendary guy in that state. I kind of had my mind on him for a long time. I hired him in the off-the-field role in 2017 at Auburn, and he did a super job, and he's been at Troy, I guess, the last 3 years, and he will be our tight end coach, and he will be our special teams coordinator. He's a rising star in this profession also. Herb Hand, our offensive line coach, me and Herb go way back. He was my co-coordinator at Tulsa when we were the #1 offense in the country 2 years in a row, and offensive line coach. And then I hired him at Auburn in 17, and we had a really good run that year. We were very good up front. I think we were one of the finalists for the offensive line award year. But Herb's a guy that we know very well. He's really, going to help me get this thing going. Very excited about Herb. And then Darryl White, our wide receiver coach. He's a guy that I've known way back, even out of Springdale High School. He's recruiting my school, and so we've known each other. I know a lot of different guys that have been with him at different places. And so when I got here, I just looked at the production that the wide receivers have had here. And so just really feel like it was a good fit. His development of wide receivers really is second to none. So real excited to have him. And then our strength coach, Chris Dawson. I know everybody's going to say, this guy's the best, but he really is. He's in that conversation as the best strength coaches in all of college football. And he's off to a super start. And just so you know, from a head coach's standpoint, one of the most important hires, if not the most important hire, is your strength coach. And so we're very excited to have Chris building our foundation, okay, of our program. Just a couple things off the field, and you probably already heard, so our operations, head of operations is SJ Tui. So SJ is a guy that I'm very familiar with. He was with Chad Morris. He was with my buddy Hugh Freeze. And so we're very excited to have SJ head up our operations. Our recruiting coordinator, head of coordinator, recruiting coordinator is Devin Ducote. So Devin was with me at Auburn for 3 years. I'm very familiar with him. He's kind of like a hairs on fire type guy, getter-doner. He's going to do a super job with our recruiting. And then our on-campus recruiting / executive assistant for me, Beth Burkett. She was with me at Auburn, heading up my on-campus recruiting, I guess, the last 2 years. And so she's going to do a super job with that. We're in the process of hiring a player personnel. I feel like I'll get this done this weekend. And so then we'll have our kind of leadership spots filled, and we can kind of fill in the guys below them as we go. All right, so here's our plan. The next 2 weeks, our coaches are going to be preparing for spring ball. They're hitting the ground running, getting to know our players, getting to know our players' parents, and we are going to start spring practice on March 15th, Monday. I know that's quick, but we got to get this thing going, get out on the field with our players, get to know them, and we'll do that. So a lot of things happening really quick, but it's very exciting. I don't know, it's been a week and a half, 2 weeks since I've had the job. It's just it's been very exciting, and really looking forward to the future. All right, questions?
Gus, Matt Rochelle from the Orlando Sentinel. It looks like when you look at your staff as a whole, there are a lot of familiar faces. How important was it for you to surround yourself with people that you were familiar with and understood not only yourself and what your vision is for this program?
I think anytime you're going in a new situation, the more people that you can get around that are familiar with you. And if you look, the guys have been, we won pretty big. And so I think it's really important to do that. And, especially starting out a program. And so these guys know what to expect from me, and they know how to win too. And I think that's very important, especially with, our goals. I mean, we're going to put ourselves out there and we're going to dream. And I'm real blessed to have these guys with me.
Coach Brandon Helwig from Rivals.com. Chris Dawson, the strength coach you were just talking about, he wasn't a guy that you had previously worked with like a lot of your other staff members. Can you kind of talk about how his hire came about, and also what kind of changes you think he will bring to UCF's strength program?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's gonna really build our foundation. He's a tough guy. He's consistent. I believe in having that tough edge, mental and physical toughness. He's going to bring that. He's a guy that, in the coaching world, that he's got a great reputation. And I've got a couple friends of mine that have been around that Kansas State program and then, Ryan Russell, my old strength coach at Missouri, I really talked to him about it. And then our athletic director, Terry Mahajer, he's had a relationship with him before. And so it was really a combination of all the above. And, when I got the job, I heard there could be some interest from him, and really. And so that we just that's the way it started. And he's off to a great start. We're going to work really good together. We believe in the same fundamental principles of building a program and how to treat kids and work kids out. So it's going to be a really good thing with him setting our foundation.
Hello, Coach. Trace Trolko, Sons of UCF Live. How much of a learning curve do you think there is in learning your offense from what this team has been using the last couple of seasons?
There's going to be a learning curve, there's no doubt, but there's going to be a lot of similarities too. We're going to play fast. We're going to be balanced. I love throwing the ball vertically down the field. And, this spring is really, we're going to put in our foundation of our offense. But we're going to be evaluating our strengths, our weaknesses. We're going to build around our strengths and build around the strengths of our quarterback too. So, that there definitely could be some things that we've been successful with in the past that you continue to see. So So we'll be building that thing and evaluating the thing in the spring.
Evan Fitzgerald with Fox 35 here in Orlando. I know you're excited to work with the quarterback, and as you mentioned, a lot of these evaluations are going to start happening in the spring. But as you've now had a chance to sort of dive into this roster, what are you excited about, and what have you become more excited about as you started to see what you have in place here?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I've not had a whole lot of time to watch film from the past. I mean, I have, even when I was looking at the job, and probably watched a game or two, but just to be completely honest, I mean, everybody's starting out new. I mean, we're going to go out there day one. I didn't want a whole lot of preconceived ideas, and we're going to see who the best is. Obviously, with Dylan, our quarterback, I'm very impressed with him. And, I was very familiar even from afar with the old program. We'd watch him on TV, and, and I just, had a lot of respect for, what he's done and all that. So, but hadn't watched a whole lot of film. Now we have watched film of our signees coming in just to make sure we're, familiar with that, but we're going to go out in spring ball, put the ball down, see who the best is.
Hi, Coach. Jonathan Alfano with NSM Today here. Have you gotten a chance to really sit down with your players yet? And if so, what have you been talking about? Yeah,
so I've met with every player. Now it's briefly. I think there were 5 to 10 minute meetings. I just wanted to get a face with a name, get to know a little bit about me. I think we've had 2 or 3 team meetings just to kind of get to know each other, the expectations, and everything that goes with that. But we'll continue to develop those relationships. But I've been impressed so far. A lot of guys very bright-eyed. They seem very excited. About the future.
Hi, Coach. Jamie Say from WKMG, the CBS affiliate here in Orlando. I'm just wondering, now that you're nearly 2 weeks on the job, what more have you learned about UCF overall and this football program that continues to energize you?
Yeah, that's a great question. From the outside looking in, I think I told you all at the presser, always felt like if the right guy got here and stayed here, built it, everybody'd be in trouble. Well, now that I've been here for, almost 2 weeks, I believe that even more. I mean, you can just feel the positive excitement, when you go around campus, and it's really set up. It's set up for success. Now we got to do it. You got to work, you got to do all that, but there's so much potential here, and, it's really exciting.
Hey, Coach. Darren Stoltzfus, West 2. It's the NBC affiliate here. Just as you were putting a staff together, what was the reception? It sounds like people were eager to join you here on this new venture at UCF.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Golly, the first 48 hours I got the job, I think I had 1,100 texts, and half of those were coaches that were wanting to be a part. I think, from a coaching world, you look out from the outside looking in, everyone understands the potential, and they've laid a great foundation. I mean, the coaches and the players before, they've won big games. This conference, you look at this conference, there's some real teams, and it's really going up. And, now that I've kind of watched a little bit, compared to the other league I got, there's some real teams. So there was a lot of really good coaches, NFL coaches that really wanted to be a part, but it was just a matter of kind of filtering through. And I'm the type too, starting out building this thing, I wanted to make sure and get people that I was familiar with somewhat and knew kind of what I was getting. But, there was a whole lot of interest.
Gus, Matt Rochelle again from the Orlando Sentinel. You mentioned it's been about 11 days or so since you've had this job. What's it been like for you and your wife? Going through this process, you joked about it on Twitter. You got a coaching staff together in 9 days. What's it been like for you during this last 11 days as you've gotten your feet on the ground?
It's been fast and furious, but fun. Not a lot of sleep, but that's a good thing. A lot of excitement. Christy's got a chance. I think she met every player too. She sat outside my office and just trying to develop that relationship. And she's looked at about 4 or 5 houses to try to buy. And I think she figured one out. And so I think we bought a house and met our players and hired a staff. So it's been really quick, but it's just so exciting, and, putting everything together.
Coach Brandon Helwig with Rivals.com again. Usually when these coaching transitions happen, it's usually early, mid-December. So maybe by the time you get back in January, you got 2.5 months to get ready for spring practice. Now you got 2.5 weeks since completing your staff. So can you just kind of talk about more about that challenge, getting ready to be on the field here real soon?
Yeah, that's really the biggest challenge is time. And I'll say this too, like it's hard to hire a staff this late. A lot of guys have already moved or just got to where they're at. They're not wanting to move again. Their wives not wanting to move again. A lot of people just signed contract extensions with buyouts. So for us to put this staff together, I was very encouraged. And, you look at it, and I thought about splitting up spring practice with spring break, but just really felt strong. Let's just hit the ground running. Let's go 4 straight weeks or whatever for spring. And let's evaluate what we have, what we don't have, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and then get going recruiting. Because, in the first presser, I said, we're going to recruit the state like nobody's ever done it. That's not recruiting talk. That's really going to happen. So we have to really get things going and develop these relationships. And so, there's, like I told the staff yesterday, there's not going to be a whole lot of sleep. We're going to have a get her done mentality.
Trey Strelko, Sons of UCF Live. Coach, talk a little bit more about what Mark Anthony Richards brings to UCF and what you're looking for in a running back on your team.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not for sure if I can legally talk about the recruit. Let me get to the next presser just to make sure. I don't want to make a mistake talking specifically about a recruit that's not here. Okay, any other questions?
Hey, Gus, Jason Beatty, Nights 24/7 Sports. You mentioned earlier about the high school experience. Obviously, you're a former high school head coach. Was that a deliberate thing to get that high school experience? And how is that helpful to have that high school experience at the college level, I guess?
Yeah, just be completely honest with you. The best coaches I've ever been around are high school coaches. And, if you look at my past, we've got a lot of high school coaches we hired off the field that are now very successful around college football. And so, yes, that was something. I think I got 3 or 4 guys that are former high school coaches and these guys are like rising stars. They're going to be very successful in college football. They're going to treat kids the right way. They're going to truly care about them as people. They're going to develop on the field. And, there's something to be said about a classroom teacher too, that understands how to relate to different people and just doesn't have here's how we're going to do it, I think, it helps me. I think I was a 7th grade world geography teacher. I had 5 classes the first 5 years, and that gave me a great foundation. And because it's about teaching, and the kids nowadays, they're not all the same. You got to relate. You got to push the right buttons. And I just think there's something to be said for high school coaches that can relate to players. And so we'll continue to do that. Now, I've got my eyes on some other high school coaches that in the future. So we'll see where that goes.
Darren Stoltzfus from the NBC here again. I want to ask you about 7th grade geography now, or history, but I won't. Just what surprised you, or was there anything that in the past 9 days that you've kind of walked into at UCF and been like, oh, this is a little different than I expected with this job?
Oh, wow. I don't know about that I expected. Well, the campus is just unbelievably huge. Okay. So that's probably the one thing. I knew it was big. Like, I'm staying about a mile away and they're telling me it's still on campus. So, that's probably the biggest thing that has stood out.
Gus Matt Rochelle from Orlando Sentinel again. You mentioned GJ and Tim coming in as your kind of co-offensive coordinators. What about the relationship they'll have with the quarterbacks, especially GJ, particularly in the quarterbacks? He's a young guy. Both those guys are young guys. How do you think that will kind of maybe play out in the quarterback room, maybe developing some relationships there?
Yeah, I thought that was important too. They can relate. They're both young, and I think relating to players this day and time in college football is more important than ever before. And both the guys, like I really believe are going like this. And so I'm really excited to have them. They will both help me. I mean, I'll call the play, but I'm the head coach too. So both those guys will assist me and assist our players. And both of them are relationship guys too, like you said. So we're in good hands. And that was kind of strategic, like, what we wanted to do with the offensive coordinator spot.